It's good to be able to do something that we can do every day, and if there are not a lot of people who can do the same type of task, then I think that work can get us the income that we need for our day-to-day living. And it's important that not many people can do the same task, because if there are so many other people who can do it, then you can be replaced. And once you get replaced, then you won't have your job, or you won't have your supposedly day-to-day type of lifestyle. And yet I think that because of that, there are many people who try to not share information because they think that if another person knows about something that they know, then that person can get their job and they won't have their job anymore, right? I think here in the Philippines, what we can find is that if you have some kind of high level of education, for example, you've gone to medical school or something like that, then at least you can eliminate the other people who would try to copy you, who would try to somehow imitate what you're doing, right? And all the rest who could go to medical school would be your competitors. And in that way, you pretty much reduce the number of people who will be your competitors who can replace you. However, this type of idea, I think, was definitely valid decades ago, but in this day and age, we get more people graduating from medical school, and that's why even graduates are having difficulty finding jobs here. And of course, because we know too that even the exams can be cheated, or people could find a way to somehow pass the exams and get a license, but they won't be able to do the job as well as they should. So there are things like that. But I think the main idea that if there are other people who can do your job, then you can be replaced. I think still getting into medical school would really eliminate quite a number of people. I think a lot of people, the majority of people actually in the Philippines, because to get into medical school, you'll need at least 1 million pesos to pay for the tuition. So that's at least 1 million pesos. And we know that the income of the majority of Filipinos don't or will never reach 1 million pesos. That's why you have this advantage if you can graduate from medical school or some other type of high level of education that only a few people could achieve. And in that way, you can then have that work that I was talking about, except that sometimes people don't want to do that job every day, right? Because it's too stressful, or there are people who are annoying, because you get sometimes you get patients who are in need of money, and so they will annoy you and do stuff so that the blame comes to you. It's like they don't want to take responsibility for whatever is happening to the patient or something like that, and they want to blame you. So there are there are cases like that too. Even me, who is not a medical doctor, experienced that. So that happens as well, and that's why there are people who don't want to do this every day, and that's why the condition is that you have to find work that is something that you can do every day, that other people cannot just simply copy or imitate, and also the work has to be non-creative, because I think that there are those who want to be creative, but the chances of you making a lot of money is really low. And I think that once you've created a creative job, you just repeat it. You just go and do it over and over again, right? And in that way, it doesn't make it creative anymore. And then that's why you're able to earn from that. So I think that should be clarified as well. So in the end, what is that job exactly that people could make a lot of money of? Really, it's something that would depend on you, because if you are willing to pass the board exams, and then you are willing to do the job every day because the annoying patients really don't annoy you, and the type of work that you are doing isn't really creative or so innovative that the chances of you succeeding is not very low, then I think you can pretty much do all right in terms of income. Now, in my case, I'm not a medical doctor. I haven't passed the board exams. And so, what I'm doing is still related to healthcare, but I think that I can do it every day. Although I don't do it every day, I am having difficulty finding someone who can do my job because there are not a lot of people who can do it. Why? Because there are so many people who are focused too much on the immediate income. They are not able to go for the long term because maybe they have family members who don't have jobs, or they have some kind of loan or something that they have to pay immediately, so they can't do it. Which leads to the next idea, which is dishonesty. Because I think that when people are looking for the bug, looking for the cause of the problem, and they are dishonest, they are unable to find the truth because they themselves are dishonest and the people around them are dishonest, then it becomes harder. I think it's actually kind of psychological also, we may say. Because for example, if an error occurs, you would tend to look for the person who caused the error, right? Who did that? Was it someone who was doing some kind of mischief, or who is annoying you, who did that? Or was it maybe because of your software? You made a mistake with your program, and that's why you have to fix it. But sometimes there are people who can be, we can say, psychologically affected by how those things work, and they get stuck actually. Who's the person to blame? Who is the bad person? And what I do is really I do what I can. I mean, I know that there are people who are liars. I know there are people who need money, and because they need money, they are willing to cheat, to lie, to steal. And what I do is I recognize that there's that type of person, and if something happens to the code, for example, the software, I mean, it's supposed to add it in this way, but it's not doing that. Someone maybe deleted the transaction or something like that. Then I talk to the people and I look at the source code, the source, and from there I decide what is the cause of the problem. Really, I think that because I've already told management about the problems that the people have, the staff have. Because if you talk to them, you know that they need money, they need to pay for something, and they can't find jobs for their children or something. And how many children they have? They have so many that they are having difficulty getting them to work or something. That's why I was saying that not a lot of people can do what I'm doing because I need to find someone who can understand the code, can fix the code, but also can be honest to admit that there is something wrong with the software and not the staff, or would be able to say that there's something wrong with the staff that is causing the problem. So I look for the job that I can do every day, something that other people cannot copy or imitate easily. Of course, there are people who can do it, but they're not a lot. And then, non-creative. What I do isn't really mind-blowing or innovative. You go through it each and every day, just check the usual stuff. If something comes up, an error or something, you verify the code. It's not like you have to invent something totally new that would revolutionize the way people work. It's not like that. So in that way, I can make money, and yet it's not that much still, because I think that for an engineer, for example, the usual path to making a lot of money based on media is really to cater to so many more people. I think that what I'm doing caters to a portion of the population, but it looks like if you really want to make so much money, like be in the top 10 wealthiest people in the world, I think you have to look into how even more people can use it, not just a small clinic that helps you make money, but not yet a lot because it's only in one city, one barangay, a small town within the city. If you want to make more money, then you have to go beyond that, beyond a small town within the city, beyond a small city, beyond a region, and then go global, all that stuff. But of course, again, you would encounter more and more and more problems as you get more and more money coming into your business. And I think there are people who prefer not to do those types of things. At least I think that you have to go up to a certain point, because once you go too far, I think just like with stocks or shares, once you get enough money and you just keep on getting more and more, the amount of monetary incentive that you'd get won't be too significant, because of course there's also tax and that stuff, right? So as more money you earn, you have to pay more tax as well. But of course, if you have so much money, you wouldn't really care, right? But again, still, just like what Mr. Yoshiki Okamoto says, he lives in Malaysia and he says that the things that you can buy with 5,000 pesos, for example, isn't too different with 10,000 pesos. I mean, for your day-to-day living, because the people can only go as much. Their level of service can really only go as much. So if you add more and more money to their income, or maybe you give them some kind of tip, it's not gonna improve anymore. So to a certain extent, getting them to work more by giving them a bit of money won't be spectacular, because already you've reached the max. So to a certain extent, it would help them, but afterward, if you just keep on giving them money, the level of service won't improve anymore. So that's his experience, and that's why I think that makes sense, definitely. So in that way, once you reach a certain amount of income, whether it be actual income or you're making money through shares, stocks, it's not too significant anymore. Okay, so I think that should be enough. Thanks for joining me. We'll see each other soon.